All right, guys, welcome to AFC North Talk. I am Ace Boogie, here to give you guys my recap of last week. Let's start off with the Browns, man. Yeah, I thought the Browns were gonna make this one interesting. It absolutely was not that. I feel like the wheels have fallen off. I think this team is what it is now. Getting to the point where you're benching Jameis and putting DCR in, that's not good, right? Um, I mean, the Chiefs had a lot of close games. This one, the score might make it seem like it was close. It was not close. They had some issues there. Pat Mahomes got injured in this one. Left. Pat didn't even go crazy, 159, but Jameis with the pick. It was a pick fest out there, bro. It was a pick fest out there. Essentially, that's what it kind of came down to. Juju started off early, then Noah Gray, then Xavier Worthy, and next thing you knew, this game was 21-0, right? So they get a late touchdown late with Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford was out there doing his thing. I think Nick Chubb got hurt in this one. But all in all, this is a 3-11 Browns team. I think it's very clear. We'll have to see what the writing is on the wall for that one. Not much to say about that one, man. But man, I thought it would be more competitive from that standpoint. Um, but it is what it is. That's the kind of season that the Browns are having right now. I thought Kareem Hunt would be a lot better in this one. But yeah, that's the way that one went. A one that went exactly the way that I thought it was going to go was Ravens Giants. Huge blowout. Not a surprise there. The Giants aren't a good team. The Ravens, I felt like we're going to have to bounce back in that one. We're talking about 35-14. Lamar Jackson MVP type of performance for him. He did a Jackson 5, had the 5 touchdowns. So, doing what they should have done, I think, in this one. 35 points put up by this offense. We'll see how things go later on with the Ravens, as they do have some challenges before the end of the season. If I'm not mistaken, I think they play the Steelers. So we'll get into that on today's upcoming show. We'll kind of preview that, but they also have the Texans as well. And they have the Browns, who probably won't have anything to fight for once they get there. But I think this just shows that the Ravens know how to beat bad teams. They know how to beat good teams too. We'll just have to see, like, if they're at that contender level this week once they play the Steelers. I think they're a contender. I don't want to sit here and sound like I don't believe in them, but they have had some hiccups along the way. We talk about the Eagles game. We talk about the last Steelers game. Be really interesting to see if they can beat the Steelers without George Pickens likely this week. We'll see how that works out. But as far as that goes, that was that game. Another game that I had right as well. Well, I was 4-0 this week, even though the game didn't go exactly the way that I expected them to. The results went the way that they did. And that was the Eagles versus the Steelers. I kind of talked about it in this game. A lot of people were saying that I was hating, but I said it. The Steelers' offense without George Pickens is not the same offense. And I think we saw that. Russell Wilson threw for 128 yards and a touchdown. And this was going against a really good defense. Their leading receiver was Calvin Austin. They just weren't able to get much of anything out of the passing offense, was what I expected, because they had to go against my boy Coop Klux Klan. Straight up. Like, yeah, him and Guantanamo Bay. Or Guantanamo Bay. Like, that's just what it is. So, can they beat an Eagles team if they have George Pickens? I think their chances are much better. And that's all I was saying. It's not a surprise to me that they only scored 13 in this game. It's not a surprise to me that they only had 163 total yards of offense. I literally said George Pickens is the explosive part of the offense. They were 3 for 10 on third down. They just didn't really control any of the time of possession. The Eagles were able to hold the ball majority of the time. Eagles held the ball 40 minutes in this one. 40 minutes. I think Russell Wilson said on Hard Knocks, this is the first time that's ever happened to him, where he's only got like 2 possessions in the second half. So, they weren't able to keep up with this Philadelphia Eagles team. I think that that's strictly just because of that's how special George Pickens is. That's what kind of player he is. That's where the explosiveness comes from. It's not a super explosive offense. It's on life support in terms of explosivity without him. So George Pickens is that guy that gets them those explosive plays. I expected to see more little more from the run game. Najee Harris, 6 carries for 14 yards. Jalen Warren, 4 for 12. That's never good. But this offense just couldn't get it going. And that is because they were missing their engine, which is George Pickens. That I'm not too surprised about. Now, what you probably came here for, since I'm the Bengals guy, was my reaction to the Bengals game. So, mixed feelings about the Bengals game. I'm never going to apologize for a win, right? However, Bengals were really sloppy in this one, man. We're talking about 14 penalties. Like, that's just insane. For a team that, by the splits, was one of the least penalized teams. These last couple of weeks, they've been picking up the penalties. They had certain touchdowns negated. This one was just, they probably should have blown this team out even more. It doesn't end up being a blowout. It's a 10-point swing. So this should have probably been a 2-3 kind of touchdown, big booty beatdown kind of match, but it was a fake booty beatdown. It was a BBL. It was a BBL. So it wasn't a big booty beatdown. It was a BBL. So for this one, man, I think Joe Burrow made some crucial mistakes in this one. We talk about the fumble and 2 interceptions. Those were bad. You can't have those. You talk about the penalties, as I said, but also the defense. Like, the defense played well. I give them credit for the interceptions and turnovers that they were able to cause. Also, the fumble. How much of that is that Will Levis is just trash? I think it's a combination of both, right? I think that this was a good game that the defense needed in order to show, like, hey, we can get some of these turnovers. We don't have to just be this shut down defense. Like, they can get away with that. That reminds me of 2005 type of Bengals defense. Not the greatest defense, but can force those turnovers. And that's all Joe Burrow and this offense really needs from them. The fact that Joe Burrow kind of negated it by having his turnovers, it's good to see that they ended up pulling this off. But I think the frustration is mounting. I think that's why you saw Joe Burrow on the sideline getting upset, getting in Zach Taylor's face kind of a little bit about the situation and the circumstances that they're in at 6-8. Now, this opens the door for them, yes, especially with the Broncos winning, but they still need some things. Dolphins ended up losing. Dolphins still have a game in Cleveland and some cold places. So we'll see. But it's not guaranteed. But the door is open. The door is open for the Bengals. They're going to be able to do what it takes, and they control what they can control with these games that they have to win out. They have to win out right now just to even have a chance, and they still might not make the playoffs winning out. So we'll see how it ends up going. But I think that the Cincinnati Bengals here got a big win. A little bit of frustration for them, but at the end of the day, this is a game that T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Chase Brown all got off. That is the core of your offense. And they showed up, and they showed up big. Let's see if the offense can keep going. This was also a Titans team that was top 5 in terms of yards allowed. So, or at least yards allowed. So this was major for the Bengals to do that. They can score 30 in their sleep. They can score 30 on anyone. We'll just have to keep seeing if they can continue to play this complementary football and if it's worth anything. So we'll see. Good win for the Bengals. That is essentially my thoughts on the North, and I'll see you guys this afternoon. Who dat?